Beginning in 1870, suffrage leaders asserted that the 14th Amendment of the Constitution of the United States already guaranteed women the right to vote. And to force a legal decision on that assumption, several women, with the hopes of being arrested and subsequently taking their challenge to court, cast ballots in the presidential election of 1872. One of the most famous of these women was Susan B. Anthony, the fearless and tenacious social reformer who dedicated much of her adult life to the suffrage movement. Born into a Quaker household, she was taught to value peace, but to stand against social injustice. She assertively cast her ballot in the 1872 election, and for this act of peaceful rebellion, she was arrested and sent to trial in June of 1873.
The prisoner will stand up. Has the prisoner anything to say why sentence should not be pronounced?
Yes, Your Honor, I have many things to say, for in your ordered verdict of guilty, you have trampled underfoot every vital principle of our government. My natural rights, my civil rights, my political rights are all alike ignored. Robbed of the fundamental privilege of citizenship, I am degraded from the status of a citizen to that of a subject. And not only myself individually, but all of my sex are, by your Honor's verdict, doomed to political subjection under this so-called Republican government.
The court cannot listen to a rehearsal of the arguments the prisoner's counsel has already consumed 3 hours in presenting.
May it please your Honor, I am not arguing the question, but simply stating the reasons why sentence cannot in justice be pronounced against me. Your denial of my citizen's right to vote is a denial of my right of consent as one of the governed. The denial of my right of representation is one of the taxed. The denial of my right to a trial by a jury of my peers as an offender against law. Therefore, the denial of my sacred rights to life, liberty, property.
The court cannot allow the prisoner to go on.
But your Honor will not deny me this one and only poor privilege of protest against this high-handed outrage upon my citizens' rights. May it please the court to remember that since the day of my arrest last November, this is the first time that either myself or any person of my disfranchised class has been allowed a word of defense before judge or jury.
The court must insist. The prisoner has been tried according to established forms of law.
Yes, Your Honor. But by forms of law all made by men, interpreted by men, administered by men, in favor of men and against women. And hence Your Honor's ordered verdict of guilty against a United States citizen for the exercise of that citizen's right to vote, simply because that citizen was a woman and not a man. But yesterday, the same man-made forms of law declared it a crime punishable with a $1,000 fine and 6 months imprisonment for you or me or any of us to give a cup of cold water, a crust of bread, or a night's shelter to a panting fugitive as he was tracking his way to Canada. And every man or woman in whose veins coursed a drop of human sympathy violated that wicked law, reckless of consequences, and was justified in so doing. As then the slaves who got their freedom must take it over or under or through the unjust forms of law, precisely so now must women, to get their right to a voice in this government, take it. And I have taken mine. And I mean to take it at every possible opportunity.
The court orders the prisoner to sit down. It will not hear another word.
When was brought before your Honor for trial, I hoped for a broad and liberal interpretation of the Constitution and its recent amendments that should declare all United States citizens under its protecting aegis. That should declare equality of rights the national guarantee to all persons born or naturalized in the United States. But failing to get this justice, failing even to get a trial by a jury not of my peers, I ask not leniency at your hands, but rather the full rigors of the law.
The sentence of the court is that you pay a fine of $100 and the cost of the prosecution.
May it please your honor, I shall never pay $1 of your unjust penalty. All the stock and trade I possess is a $10,000 debt incurred by publishing my paper, The Revolution, 4 years ago, the sole object of which was to educate all women to do precisely as I have done, rebel against your man-made, unjust, unconstitutional forms of law that tax, fine, imprison, and hang women, while they deny them the right of representation in the government. And I shall work with might and main to pay every dollar of that honest debt, but not a penny shall go to this unjust claim. And I shall earnestly and persistently continue to urge all women to the practical recognition of the old revolutionary maxim, resistance to tyranny is obedience to God.